Yes. Yeah, Catherine, it's great to be with Jeannie again, and we're old friends. Well, not old, because we're not old, but friends that we've known young friends. We've known each other for many years. Jeannie has an incredible resume, but she spent several years working with us in the Archdiocese of Detroit, and we're so grateful for the commitment and the contributions she's made over the years, not only in our area, but across the country and around the world. Wow, God answered our prayers to the weather. Beautiful day, and I was so grateful for the kids traveling here by bus, and they could all come. Let's talk about the theme, Love Saves Lives. How do you come up with those themes?
You know, we just prayerfully try to discern it every year, and we think about what seems to be most needed in the culture. So, for example, a few years ago, we had adoption, a noble decision, trying to encourage moms who are facing an unexpected pregnancy to choose adoption, since we've got only 20,000 infant adoptions a year versus almost 1 million abortions. Another year, we had Every Life is a Gift, focusing on the poor prenatal diagnosis babies that are aborted at a disproportionate rate of like 90%. This year, we really think that we need to hear about love and sacrifice. Love saves lives. Love saves lives. And it's really, love and sacrifice go hand in hand. Sacrifice begets fruit. It's very Catholic.
Yeah,
I mean, in a way. Catholic, you find yourself in sincere gift of self. Pick up your cross and follow me.
Where have I heard that before?
Right. Exactly. And then the other side of it is the pregnancy care movement. We've got over 2,500 pregnancy care centers around our country. Collectively, they give over $100 million a year in free resources to women and men that are in these difficult scenarios. You know, they might be diapers, formula, housing, babysitting, classes, counseling.
Classes,
right. And they're really the backbone of the pro-life movement. They've been around for decades. So we're trying to draw attention and really honor the pregnancy care movement as well.
Which is beautiful. And actually, Peggy Hartshorn, I was telling you, and I'm free to talk about this, Peggy Hartshorn is going to be in the Rose Garden with the president. She was supposed to do another interview with us from Heartbeat. Of course, that's an umbrella group, as you know, for the organizations or pregnancy resource centers. But great day. Just give you 30 seconds to give us a lineup of the speakers for the rally really quick.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're very excited, of course. We're having an event, a sort of a satellite rally event at the Rose Garden, which I think is significant. Of course, our logo is the rose.
Yes,
the rose
yes,
is very significant in terms of giving a rose to people in Congress. We also have the Speaker of the House and a good congressional lineup. Then we have Pam Tebow, mother of Tim Tebow, sharing her story of love saving lives. We then have Matt and Adriana Burke. Matt is a former NFL player. Sister Bethany Madonna of the Sisters of Life. Their mission embodies our theme like more beautifully than I could possibly articulate. And then we'll finish with Bishop Vincent Watkins, the head of the largest African American church in the United States, the Church of God in Christ. We've got a fantastic lineup.
Great, Jeannie. Good to see you, and keep up the great work. Jeannie Mancini, president of the March for Life. Back to you in the studio. Beautiful day here, just in front of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Back to you.
It is a beautiful day. Thanks so much, Teresa and Jeannie Mancini. Great to see her as well. She's a busy lady today with the March for Life.
These are not in tons of snow. Remember a couple years ago we were in the blizzard.
I know. Today it's actually an enjoyable day.
It is
but
45.
we're warm in studio right now.
Too.
So, Star, you were just at the White House yesterday.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was incredible. The vice president invited in many of the leaders in the pro-life movement. And it was just fantastic to be able to hear his story, hear his wife's story about just their commitment in pro-life and how long they've been in pro-life. And one thing I learned about him, and I've known Mike almost 30 years, is that they were in the process of attempting to adopt. I didn't know that when his wife shared that story yesterday. But to see good friends that have been warring on the front line, and I tell you, one thing that was very noticeable is that there was a happy yesterday. It's because we know that the president is speaking to this. We know that he's put a good Supreme Court justice on. We know that there's activity at HHS in the Congress for the first time in years. So there was almost like a freedom, a peace, saying, okay, guys, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. We're going to end this. We might even see it.
That's why there is such that joy and hope.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, but for some of the marches, it wasn't any joy and hope. We were desperate. And especially the first time we had Barack Obama's on Inauguration Day that year, it was 65 degrees. By the time we got to the march 4 days later, it was miserable. It was sleet. Really? We were covered, especially the people doing the die-in, laying out in front of the White House.
Right.
it was crazy cold. So it's been a hard journey. Last year, people got stuck on the freeway leaving. So remember?
That's
they
right.
were out there for days.
Oh my
I had 4 people in my apartment because after they couldn't get flights out, and so and the hotel kicks them out. And
so January typically is not a good time to come here, but hundreds of thousands do. Why? Because it's so important.
It is so important.
It's worth the sacrifice.
It really is.
It's worth the inconvenience. It's
young
worth,
people.
Yeah.
That bus that was stuck out on the freeway from St. Louis, you know, the kids were like, what are they doing? Because they're youth. They're just.
Right.
They said, oh, they were out there making snow angels.
But it's like exactly what you said, Father. I think every year, especially when the weather looks a little iffy, it's, well, shouldn't we change the date of the March for Life? But the significance of it.
That's right.
Of the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, when abortion was legalized in this nation, and the fact that, as we were speaking earlier, it's a pilgrimage. You know, it's not meant to be enjoyable. It's you know, I know for me, it was sitting in a bus for 14 hours, not sleeping, getting off and walking, not eating. But you offer up that sacrifice.
That's right. That's right.
For prayer.
And it's important that we do. That's why I love the Catholic calendars. It's important that we have seasons that we fast. We have seasons that we stop. Because when you think about the history of the church and what they did for Christianity, there is no excuse for America to have allowed abortion to be a reality this long. We've already been around this track. We had a crime against humanity once before in our history. Slavery, and we knew then it's legal, but it's not lawful in God's eyes, and so He's going to end it. With just which side of history are we going to be on? So often, my encouragement are those abolitionists. I think about what they were going through when we get miserably sitting on buses or standing in snow. So, but yesterday we were in the White House, and it was very, very beautiful. And very, very alive, because most of the leaders there, many who've been in this since the beginning, 45 years ago, were in that room feeling a glimmer of hope.
That's incredible. And we are now going to go to Damon Owens, who's outside with a guest. Hello, Damon.
Hello, and it's warming up in every conceivable way here, both in the number of people, the sun, the warmth here. But we're joined by Feminists for Life President Sharon Foster and Chairman of the Board, right, Nina Jarowitz, who've got a unique approach and a unique, I wouldn't say angle, it sounds so manipulative, but really a unique perspective on this life issue. Sarah, can you tell folks a little bit about your organization and a little bit about your participation today and throughout the year?
Well, Feminists for Life was started a year before Roe v. Wade. Women realized that the abortion advocates were hijacking the women's movement. And so Feminists for Life was started by 2 women who didn't know that the early American feminists were also pro-life. And so Alice Paul, the author of the Equal Rights Amendment, who successfully led the latter half of the suffrage movement to achieve women's right to vote, she was also pro-life. And she told Pat Goltz, one of our co-founders, that you weren't the first pro-life feminist. So Feminists for Life historians began to look up all the research and find this rich quotes from Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Alice Paul, and so many other women. They're really powerful. Alice Paul called abortion the ultimate in the exploitation of women, and it's still true today.
I was fascinated when I first heard your organization, not only that history of preceding Roe v. Wade, but also of the real neo-history and almost a rewriting of the history of the feminist movement in general. You ask someone about that, Nina, and most people will think, well, that's sort of a niche group, or you're co-opting a certain area, but you've got a rich history.
Well, because we think women deserve better than abortion, and that's what all the early feminists thought, and frankly, that's completely compatible with Catholic teaching as well. We are a niche group. We tend to reach people who are looking for something different, who knew inherently that abortion was wrong. They might not be Catholic, they might not even believe in God, but they do believe that women deserve better and that we need to make accommodation for the fact that women are the ones who become pregnant.
I'm curious, too. The Women Deserve Better movement has been a powerful, I think, messaging when it comes to the issue in specific, but also in where it places in the overall building we call the culture of life. How would you describe, in the last second here, what is the biggest challenges that you have and opportunities with the Women Deserve Better and or Feminists for Life?
As Feminists for Life, we build a bridge with women who have never known a day without legalized abortion. We let them know that you can be a feminist and you deserve better. We have a new website, womendeservebetter.com, that helps women learn, live, love better, because that's what they deserve. And thank you so much for having us and all the work that you do in EWTN. We love it. We really appreciate it.
Well, I thank you for your courage. It's hard enough taking on the abortion issue, taking on the feminism issue, taking on all these issues for the culture, and we're working together. We will change a lot of hearts and a lot of minds. Feminists for Life, another beautiful part of the mosaic of this March for Life that we get to see each other once a year and encourage. Back to you.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful mosaic, and being pro-life is being pro-woman. So thank you, Damon and Feminists for Life. We're here with Star Parker, founder and president of CURE. We're a little more than an hour away until the rally. Crowds are starting to gather more there. How significant is it that President Trump will be the first president to address the March for Life via this live satellite video?
It's an incredible miracle from God. We had an election that no one anticipated, and God is moving, and it is just incredible. We can touch ending abortion. For the President of the United States to get up and declare that this is alive. I am making a public statement. The pro-abortionists must be on notice and trembling in their boots, because we've put up with them for a long, long time. And we put up with them massively murdering, maiming, molesting women in these horrible, horrible abortion places. And now for the President of the United States to be at the White House in a major, significant place to say, oh, if I can't get on the mall without disrupting the mall, then I'll do it from the White House. Huge.
Right. And just last year, Vice President Pence spoke. So they set a high bar last year, the administration, but now
he sure
Trump
did. He did. It made a little. Some of us didn't get in because he spoke. Because once they locked that thing down, and I think that's one of the reasons that if they might some might want to criticize the president for not coming to the march. The security issues are, as you said, Father. There are going to be hundreds of thousands of people trying to get on that mall. So you cannot shut it down. So this is big, and we're very excited. We're excited at CURE, and we're excited for other groups that are working tirelessly to end abortion and in our lifetime.
Absolutely, and of course the other speaker is Speaker of the House Paul Ryan.
Oh yes, that's significant as well, because when you think about some of the bills that are coming up, of course my passion is on the heartbeat. We wanted that one, but they're not doing it. But that's okay. We have time. We have 4 years, then we have 8 years, and then we have Mike Pence for 8 years. We have 16 years to undo this, the problems
and
that
we can say
left
too
us.
that science is on our side as well,
really
right?
is.
And that's where you're talking about the 21 days is when the heartbeat is first detectable.
That's right.
In the unborn child.
That's right.
Well, science itself is pointing to the reality of a new, distinct life.
That's right. That's right. As if we needed science to tell us, but that's okay. If they couldn't believe God, then let's let them believe the scientists. And you're absolutely right. And so one of the major things that has happened in our pregnancy care centers across the country is they now are equipped with ultrasounds. They have the sonogram to show the mom the life. So we're saving babies on all types of places.
We have the truth on our side.
It really
Star
is.
Parker, thank you for your tireless work and in the pro-life movement. It's been a joy to have you join us for this coverage. We're now going to go to Teresa Tomeo, who has Dr. Monica Miller with her.
Hi, Catherine. Wow, I'm really enjoying that interview with Star Parker. What a great witness she is to the pro-life movement. Another great witness, a friend of mine from Michigan, from southeastern Michigan, Dr. Monica Miller, who's been on EWTN with her many books. Her most recent book is Abandoned, beautiful book about the work that she's done for so many years in really saving and respecting the lives of the unborn babies in so many ways. And Monica, you've been here so many times. What's on your heart this year?
Well, I think the most important thing in terms of the pro-life effort, the key word, honestly, and it's not something I have to say to you, Teresa, but it's perseverance. We're in a very, very long war, and the social, cultural damage to our society is so deep and so vast. I'm not sure that we'll actually see the end of it in our lifetimes. Maybe in the millennial generation, they will reap the ultimate fruits. But perseverance, and that's why I think coming to the march is important, even for an old veteran like myself, because I get reinvigorated, and this is a way to recommit ourselves. And so I think it's the word I want to leave with everyone is never give up. And not to be afraid of the hard sacrifices. Abortion is the consequence of a deep, incredibly deep spiritual crisis. Something is broken on the spiritual level. And the only way that we're going to heal our nation, and even in a sense reform, and I don't want to say reform, but to reinfuse our church, right, with that spirit of being able to be the prophetic voice for the unborn, we can't be afraid of the hard sacrifices. abortion will be overcome by radical acts of love.
And this is what the whole theme, love
Yeah.
saves lives.
Radical acts of love.
We're looking at this whole situation in our culture now that is really affirming church teaching in so many ways. If you see all these different broken relationships and sexual harassment, and this is love saves lives. When you love the person, the dignity of the human person, that is what matters.
Right, and here's the other thing. You know, what the biggest problems in some ways in terms of our culture is that everything is so subjective. I create reality in my own mind. Even my gender is something I create. I manufacture it, and I have this idea or this sense inside of my head, and now I actually have to alter my body to match that fiction. The world, and we're talking about the Catholic view of the world. The Catholic view of the world is that the world is sacramental. The world, as God has created it, reveals and mediates His truth, and our dignity must match that. We're made for that truth, and that's the beauty of the Catholic faith.
And we go against that dignity. I'm sorry, but we're out of time. We go against that dignity, and it falls apart, which is what we're seeing. But we persevere, and we are making a difference, and we are saving lives, especially with witnesses like yours. Dr. Monica Miller, back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Teresa. What a powerful witness from Dr. Miller. And we're about an hour away now from the start of the rally on National Mall, the Rally for Life, of course, where President Donald Trump is getting prepared to address the crowds via a live satellite. You can just see those crowds starting to converge onto D.C. It looks like it's a beautiful day outside, though, nice and sunny. And in studio, we are joined by a new guest. Stephanie Gray is president of Love Unleashes Life. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. It's a joy to be here.
It is a joy on this day as we're marking the March for Life. And Stephanie, for viewers might recognize you. They might recognize your voice because there was a video last year that came out that went viral of your pro-life talk at Google headquarters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I had the opportunity to go to Google headquarters and give an anti-abortion presentation. And so the way I packaged it was to try to present stories and ask questions that would draw the truth out of people about who the preborn child is, what abortion does to the preborn child, in order to draw people to a conclusion that we should put others ahead of ourselves. Right. We should do the right thing even when it's hard.
How was it received?
I would say it was very well received. I have experienced a lot of hostile crowds on college campuses, and I wondered at a very secular institution, would I get that at Google?
Right.
But you have a lot of, engineers, the logically minded people who were just very pensive and I would say quite receptive to the material that I put forward.
You know what I really liked is how Christ would ask questions to draw the truth out of people. They come to their own conclusions, and that's exactly what you did. You contrasted Captain Sully with the Concordia, was it?
The captain of the Costa Concordia, that's right.
So maybe you could just relate that story.
Sure. Well, we look at those two, major passenger vehicle accidents, this cruise ship where the captain of the cruise ship, when it crashed, abandoned ship when people were on it, when people drowned to death, and contrast him to the captain of an airplane. That was Captain Chesley Sullenberger, who landed the plane safely on the Hudson River several years ago. And he was the last person to get off that plane. He made sure all the passengers were off before him. He walked the aisle twice of that airplane as water was filling the cabin, refusing to get off until he was sure there were no other bodies left. And so it really shows through the contrast of those two individuals, we want to model the captain of the airplane who put others ahead of himself. And that's the pro-life message. Let's put others ahead of ourselves.
It goes back to that theme, love saves lives, right?
Absolutely.
That sacrifice, which you speak often about. I mean, your group is Love Unleashes Life, so it seems like this is a very compatible theme for you.
Yes, well, St. John Paul II said, suffering unleashes love. And if you think about it, when do we love others? It's when they're suffering, when they're needy, when they're vulnerable, and that draws out of us this willing of their good. And when we will their good through love, what happens? It unleashes life.
Yes.
Figuratively as well as very concretely in terms of not only the spirit of the person, but the very body of the person, the preborn child, whose life can be saved by the mother being loved.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I know you spoke yesterday at the March for Life conference.
I did.
So the March for Life conference is held every year the day before the actual march. Pro-lifers come and gather and discuss ideas. What was your message to pro-lifers yesterday?
My message was that we need to be defenders of preborn children using our powers of persuasion. With other injustices, there can be attempts to try to remove the victim from those who will persecute the victim. But we can't remove preborn children from an unsafe womb. The mother or anyone who would want to harm the child will inevitably be near that child because the child needs the mother's womb.
Right.
So we have to use powers of persuasion to try to convince her to choose alternatives to abortion. So how do we do that? And that's what my talk was about. Excellent. Talking really in terms of not only reaching the head on an intellectual academic level, but reaching the heart, hearing people's stories, allowing them to tell us where they're coming from so that we can understand what has influenced their current position and how to work with them to try to influence a new position.
That's beautiful. I know, Stephanie, you've told me before, everyone is pro-life, they just don't know it
That's
yet.
right.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the truth is written on our hearts. Our Heavenly Father has built into us a way of life that is outward focused, that involves a communion of persons, that really engages the human person to the highest level of love, of truth, of goodness, of beauty. And so that is what the pro-life message is about. So when we ask questions and we draw those truths out of people, they suddenly realize, oh, that message resonates with me. There's something attractive about that. Not because we're introducing them to something they don't know, but because we're drawing out of them something that our Lord placed on their hearts when He created them in His image.
The truth is on our hearts. And Stephanie, you are from Canada. We have another Canadian with us now. Alex Shadenberg is with Damon Owens with Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. Hello, Alex. Hello, Damon.
Oh, thank you. It's good to hear from Alex again from Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, an international group focused on shining a light on physician-assisted suicide, and all those issues. Alex, how have you been? What's been going on in the last year or so?
Well, actually, the whole issue of assisted suicide is, we've had a lot of success in 2017 in the United States. Sadly, not everywhere, but in the United States, there was 26 states that had presented bills or had attempts to legalize assisted suicide in the U.S., and they were all failed in 2017. Now we're concerned about 2018 because there's several states where the elections didn't go well, the few changes, and it doesn't, there's a couple states where we're very concerned about. But worldwide, there's a lot of things going on, and I just want to tell a little story of a woman we just found out about. Her name is Aurelia. She's 29 years old. She lives in the Netherlands, and she's physically healthy, but she has psychological issues, and she was approved for euthanasia on January 26th. So these are the kind of things we're dealing with. If you think that psychologically she's going through difficulties, but she's physically healthy, yet she's going to be dying by lethal injection on January 26th, and we're trying our best to convince her otherwise.
Now, for the non-obvious, can you explain a little bit about what is the issue with assisted suicide from your organization's perspective? Yeah. What is it is at the heart of your opposition to it?
Okay, so assisted suicide is when the law allows a doctor, or in Canada allows a nurse, so someone else, to directly be involved with causing another person's death. So in the case of assisted suicide, they would write a lethal prescription, and then the person would receive that prescription of lethal drugs and die by assisted suicide. So you're assisting in causing the death. Therefore, it's direct and it's intentional. What is crazy about the situation is this lie. We're sold this lie on freedom and autonomy, but it's not about freedom and autonomy. How the law works is a doctor decides. One very interesting thing is that just like 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, we had this letter published by this gentleman in Sweden who contacted the Oregon Health Authority, where assisted suicide has been legal since 1998, asking how they define terminal illness. And we learned from the Oregon Health Authority that, in fact, you don't have to be terminally ill to die by assisted suicide in Oregon. So long as you say no to medical treatment, you're defined then as terminally ill, and you would qualify for assisted suicide if your condition, of course, would lead to that. That means someone who is insulin dependent in Oregon could ask for assisted suicide if they said no to insulin. That's how it is. And we have to understand it means somebody else has the power. Now, let's get down to the reality of this issue. If I'm depressed, I'm going through a difficult time, and a health condition, then is this about my freedom and autonomy when a doctor says, yeah, we can give you lethal drugs? That's not about my freedom and autonomy. That's about my abandonment. That's a cultural abandonment. That's
Alex, what I thought interesting is that we started out with this issue of all of the extreme cases, but then, as you said, this young lady in the Netherlands, it's moved not just from a right to die, really almost to a duty to die. Is that fair?
Well, what's happening is that it expands. Once they say it's okay for somebody else to kill you, it expands over time. What I want people to know is we need to pray for people like Aurelia. We need to recognize that I can make a difference in others' lives also. If I know you're going through a difficult time, but the greatest thing I can do is spend time with you when I know you're going through a difficult time, share my caring time with you. We can make a difference in this world, but the fact of it is we've gone into a cultural abandonment. We're abandoning people who are going through a very difficult time in their life. We're abandoning them to lethal drugs. And this is a ridiculous situation if you think about it, because In the past, we talked about suicide prevention and caring for people. Now we're talking about how we can kill people.
Alex Shadenberg, Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. You know, it's we talk about the abortion issue, rightly so, but out of that same ideology, out of the same philosophy, is this loss of community and loss of life. Thank you so much for your work in shining light to euthanasia and efficient suicide. Alex Shadenberg, back to you guys.
Damon, thank you for that insightful interview. And if you are just tuning in, thank you for joining us. This is EWTN's continued coverage of the 45th Annual March for Life. And you will notice on your screen a counter. It's an abortion counter. We started it at 9 a.m., the start of this broadcast. And here we have 9,969 abortions now global, worldwide. These are using the latest statistics when it comes to abortion. Just to put it into perspective, since we started this broadcast at 9 a.m., that's how many global abortions there would be. But thank you so much for joining us on this important day. I am here with Father Joseph Mary Wolf and Stephanie Gray, president of Love Unleashes Life. Stephanie, you are from Canada, just like Alex.
Yes.
What is the pro-life situation in Canada right now? Can you give us some perspective?
It's very challenging and very troubling. We have a prime minister that is really very much in favor of abortion, advancing an abortion agenda, and really working against pro-lifers and suppressing, even pro-lifers being able to get funding for their organizations to hire students for the summer job program, when all kinds of other organizations get funding to hire students for summer job programs. And one of the things he talks about is he believes in women's rights. And I think, well, when do women's rights begin? What about females in the womb? Because in Canada, females can be killed specifically because they're girls. Preborn children who are born or conceived into families who want boys instead of girls can get a tax-funded abortion in Canada to dismember, decapitate, and disembowel the body of a baby girl. So how is that being in favor of women's rights? And then he talks about supporting just human rights generally, but the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom says everyone has the right to life. And since that preborn child is of human parents, that preborn child is human and should therefore have the same right to life that I would be guaranteed, or you would be guaranteed, even as a visitor to my country.
Absolutely.
And we have the March for Life that we cover. Doug and I have been involved with that in
yes,
Ottawa
Father.
every year. And Kevin and Catherine Dunn have created a number of films and things that really bring that point home and promoting the pro-life message. What are some other things that you're doing in your own ministry?
My key focus is to influence the influencers. So I like to spend a lot of time training future priests or clergy in general in evangelical denominations, training future lawyers, training future doctors, realizing that they will have access to audiences I won't directly have access to. But if I can equip them in the logic of the pro-life perspective, as well as how to articulate it, how to explain it to others by, as we've said, asking questions, telling stories, then it will go further than I could directly do. And then doing a lot of debates on college campuses, debating abortionists, professors of philosophy and other subjects, so as to reach the mushy middle. Students who wouldn't necessarily attend a pro-life lecture will be enticed to come to a debate where both sides are present, and it provides an opportunity to reach what generally seems to be an unreachable audience, which are those who won't come to us. So how do we get creative about bringing the pro-life message to them?
And expose them to the truth of what our message is.
Absolutely.
Stephanie, I'm curious, as a Canadian, here you are in the United States, our nation's capital, for the U.S.'s March for Life. What is your perspective on abortion in the U.S. and the pro-life movement here?
There's a lot of hope here. Everything's always bigger in the U.S., so your coffee cup sizes as well as your march. So that's always encouraging. Of course, you have a much larger population, but the key is there's so much enthusiasm, so much hope, and a lot of progress that I see happening at a state level as well as at a national level.
Excellent.
I'm interested in your debates, especially with those on the other side of the issue. And I read that you also debated someone with medical students present.
Yes.
So they were able to hear both sides of the issue.
Yes, that was a late-term abortionist at a medical school in Canada who was willing to share a platform with a pro-lifer in the context of an all-medical student audience.
Wow.
And it was an incredible opportunity because, yes, they got to hear him, but they also got to hear the pro-life message in a way that it generally isn't heard by that audience if they don't seek out the pro-life message. I was able to explain the facts of what abortion is. I showed abortion victim photography, and I asked the abortionist in front of all of the students if what I showed was an accurate representation of what he sees and what he does. And in front of 200 students, his answer was absolutely. Now that was jarring for the students to think, wait, what she just showed, he actually admits
it's not propaganda. This is reality.
Exactly.
So insightful, Stephanie. We're going to be back with you in just a little bit, but right now we're going to go to Teresa Tomeo, who has Kristen Hawkins with her, president of Students for Life of America, and she was just with the vice president last night.
That's right, Catherine. She's been all over the news. She's the girl of the hour. I woke up this morning and saw her on Fox News in the background with the vice president there, and that must have been a wonderful experience. I know you've met him before.
That's right. We've been working with Vice President Pence before when he was Congressman Pence, working to defund Planned Parenthood. As you know, he authored the Pence Amendment, the original bill to defund Planned Parenthood. It was an honor to be there last night. We had our Students for Life leaders from chapters all over the country, as far as Alaska, meeting with him, talking about the First Amendment challenges we're facing, talking to him about our desire to defund Planned Parenthood. And then he invited us up on stage. I was there holding a child that was directly targeted by Planned Parenthood for abortion next to the Vice President of the United States. It was a special moment.
And you also had a good interview this morning on secular radio on NPR of all places, about an 8-minute interview. We were really able to get your message out.
That's right. And, and sometimes we beat up on that mainstream media for how they don't report our message or how they bend the truth. But it was a fair and balanced interview. We were able to talk about some real issues about how pro-lifers feel about President Trump and the accomplishments of this administration. The very real, tangible things that have been done that have changed Washington, D.C. since we were here last January all together.
It is incredible, the movement of young people that are involved in pro-life issues. And what I really like, and I encourage people to do, is to take this mountaintop experience and apply it, which I know you keep them involved all year long.
That's exactly right. And that's one of the things we're here to do. We're passing out 10,000 signs today, but we have a conference, 2,000 young people tomorrow. It's the largest pro-life conference in the nation. We'll be out in San Francisco at the Walk for Life next year. And the whole point is, don't just come here, because this is going to light your fire. Come to the conference, and we're going to train you in how to change your peers' minds about abortion, how to serve women and men who are hurting from abortion, who are confused, who are in that moment of crisis. We're going to change you in how to transform your campuses and your communities for life.
Amen. And you do a great job of that. Good to see you again. Thanks for all your great work. Kristen Hawkins from Students for Life. Catherine?
Thank you so much, Teresa. And as we were speaking about Vice President Mike Pence, he has tweeted his support for the March for Life today, saying, "Today, March for Life will, with one voice, call on the United States to rededicate itself to the most fundamental right enshrined in our Declaration of Independence, the unalienable right to life. Hashtag why we march, hashtag March for Life." And we encourage you, whether you're at the march or whether you're at home and you're pro-life, share why you are pro-life. Send out a tweet, go on social media, and put that message out there. We are getting closer and closer to the Rally for Life. It'll be at noon today, so the crowds you can just see are just starting to continue to pour in onto the National Mall. But we are here in our studio joined by Stephanie Gray, president of Love Unleashes Life. And Stephanie, you are such a gifted speaker and communicator for the pro-life message. Could you share with us some tips, some practical advice for our viewers so that they too can communicate?
Sure. The open-ended question I always recommend people ask someone is, what do you think about abortion? Invite them to express their views. And when they say they're pro-choice, as unfortunately a lot will, then ask, under what circumstances are you pro-choice? And when they give you one, such as poverty, then I always tell the pro-lifer, respond by affirming what can be affirmed. So to say, I agree with you, to be pregnant and poor would be difficult. And then say, imagine someone's pregnant and not poor. They're quite wealthy. But after the child is born, things get difficult financially. Then ask the question, may we end the life of the born child because the mother is poor? And if they say no, which they will, we then ask, why then may we end the life of the preborn child because the mother is poor? And they'll respond, that's different. The child isn't human, which then shows the real question to be discerned in the conversation is that child before birth as human as the child after? So then I tell the pro-lifer, simply ask the individual, do you believe in human rights? And they're going to say, well, yes, I believe in human rights. So then pull up a picture of an embryo and say, what about this human's rights? Use your iPhone or smartphone. Right. And they're going to look at that image probably and say, that's not a human. So then the pro-lifer simply asks, well, what are the parents of the embryo? If the pregnant woman is human, if her partner is human, wouldn't it logically follow that their offspring must be human as well? And then if they say, well, that human may be technically of the species Homo sapiens but not alive, then we simply ask, well, is that entity growing? Is the one-cell embryo growing into 2 and 4 and 8 and doubling? And if yes, by the embryo's growth, the embryo must be living. If yes, the parents are human, then the embryo must be human. And since the individual we're speaking with conceded they believe in human rights, then through that simple question and answer, we are able to show them what they now know to be a living human should have the same human rights that you or I have.
That is so incredibly powerful. What if you're speaking with someone and they react with hostility? They're angry, they don't really want to hear what you have to say. What advice do you have there?
Yes, you know, when people get angry, I often think it's not a problem of the head, it's a problem of the heart. So rather than take that intellectual approach, I take the prayer of St. Francis approach. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be understood as to understand. And so I would ask that individual after they calm down, when there's a little moment for a pause, I would say, I'm curious, where does your passion come from? Who knows what they'll say? But if they say, well, my mom had an abortion, then I would say, how is she doing? Does she ever talk about that abortion? Do you ever think about that sibling? Another good question is to say, when did you first learn about abortion, and what did you think then? And did it change? Oh, when did it change? Oh, why? And those questions are going to, again, draw out of the individual their background, their story, where they're coming from. It will help put things into context and will give us an opportunity to validate again, where we can validate to say, I'm sorry for the suffering you've experienced, or I'm sorry for the difficulty that it sounds like your girlfriend went through. How are they doing? And to really enter into a relationship, Pope Francis often has spoken of a culture of encounter. And we really want to look at every exchange, whether it's intellectual or whether it's more of the heart or the emotion, as one of truly encountering the other and seeing them as an image bearer, bearing the image of our God.
I love that saying that no one needs love as much as a person who doesn't deserve it. Right? And so when you experience that hostility, when you take a deep breath, just peacefully encounter them, lovingly, patiently, it can lead them to the truth. Right?
Absolutely. You know, I was in adoration recently, and I was reflecting on how the passage in Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind, of how all the words God could have used to first define love, he used the word patience. Love is patient. You know, and I think as pro-lifers, we have to take that to every encounter and remember, love is patient. This isn't about bonking someone over the head with the facts, because if I win the argument and lose the person, I haven't won the argument.
What's the goal there?
So it's really about gently and slowly journeying with them to the fullness of truth.
And just a reminder that this theme is Love Saves Lives. That is the theme of the 45th Annual March for Life. And we're now going to go to Damon Owens, who's out at the rally as we're gearing closer and closer to the Rally for Life. And he has a guest with Womb International.
Yes, I'm here with Anne Belanger of Womb and Billings Ovulation Method, great legacy of John and Evelyn Billings. Can you tell our audience a little bit about Womb and maybe even what it stands for and what your role is in this beautiful movement?
Sure, of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Womb International was actually spelled it's as an acronym. It's WOOMB because it stands for World Organization Ovulation Method Billings. And this organization exists to ensure that wherever the Billings ovulation method is taught, it's taught authentically, without variation, and so that all the teachers who are giving this instruction to their clients are doing it in a very concise and professional and correct fashion, so that all that information that comes with the Billings ovulation method is given correctly. And Womb International ensures that that happens.
Yeah, I think what's beautiful is that John and Evelyn Billings were some of the early pioneers with not only Pope Paul VI's call, but the Church's call to use the methods of natural family planning to help build a culture of life. And now look at all these years later, international organization, UN representation, as well as the method.
That's right. Yes, it is. It's very important. We do have work at the United Nations. We have a UN team that works there to provide information and promote the Billings ovulation method to the women who attend the Commission on the Status of Women, which happens every spring. And this way, women from all over the world are able. We have a huge delegation coming by here. They're able to understand that they can use the Billings ovulation method to understand their fertility, so they're not reliant upon contraceptive in order to space their family. They can do it naturally and in accordance with natural law and the rhythms of their own body.
I know personally that natural family planning was such a huge part of Melanie, my wife, and building our marriage early on, and the training in Billings was such an insight into some of these beautiful truths here. How can people learn more about womb, learn more about Billings and what's happening now in terms of your movement?
So you can always visit our websites. We have WombInternational.org, and also here in the United States we have an organization, an affiliate of WOMB called BOMA USA, and its website is BOMA-USA.org, and you can always go there to find out more information and find out where you can find a teacher who can help you learn this beautiful method of natural family planning.
I'm excited too. You have an app, a new app, Womb, and also does BOMA USA.
We do have a Womb. We have 2 Womb approved apps. One is for the computer. It's called Fertility Pinpoint, and the other one is for your mobile device, and it's called NFP Charting Online. And these apps allow you to insert information and record your charting without predicting what's going to be happening in your cycle, but giving the woman an opportunity to insert what she's recognizing through her patterns of fertility and infertility, so that she knows where she's at in her cycle.
Yeah, beautiful work. Thank you, Anne Belanger of Womb International, affiliate of BOMA USA as an affiliate within that, the great work of John and Evelyn Billings. Love NFP, love what it means for the pro-life movement and building the culture of life. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless you. Enjoy your day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Damon. I can just sense the energy growing there at the National Mall as we're taking closer and closer to the Rally for Life. And then from there, the marchers will go on and march down Constitution Avenue to the Supreme Court. Here we are. We're having a great discussion here in the studio. Stephanie Gray is with us, president of Love Unleashes Life. Stephanie, prayer plays such a powerful role. Yes, we're talking about using these rational arguments in order to win over our neighbors and friends to the pro-life movement, but prayer plays a role as well.
Absolutely. Prayer is foundational. There's a beautiful illustration by St. Bernard who once said we are to be reservoirs and not channels. If you think about the body of water, the channel, the water just flows through. Like that. That's like the busy person going, doing, never stopping to pray. The reservoir is very different. The reservoir fills up, and then the excess overflows. That is what we're to be like. Before any action must be contemplation. We take time to be still, to know that God is God, to be filled up with the Holy Spirit and let that overflow into our encounters. And then once we're in the encounters, to continually pray. I love taking short passages from the scriptures, from our Heavenly Father's words to us, and turning those into prayers. So when I'm in an encounter, quietly in my mind, I'm saying, may my soul magnify the Lord. May it make big God in me, whether received in the Eucharist or because I bear his image. May my soul magnify the Lord. Another passage from the scriptures is great to pray, Lord, that I may see, that the blind man called out. So for us to pray, Lord, that I may see what this person needs to hear. Lord, that I may see where they're coming from. Lord, that I may see how I can best reach their heart. Another great prayer is, Lord, may I decrease so that you may increase. And the more we say, Lord, may I decrease so that you may increase, then the person will be won over, because they'll be won over by love itself, which is God. We're mere conduits for that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And Father, we started our broadcast in prayer. You celebrated Mass right before we started our coverage. It really...
Because if we are living in the Lord and he's living in us, then we're going to bear fruit that endures, he says. So that's the key. He's the vine, we're the branches. Let's stay attached to him.
Which really is a sign of humility, too. Like you were saying, less of me, more of you, Lord. Yes. And when we are able to be humble and not get our pride, I think, wrapped up in these discussions, when that get to be so passionate. You know, this is such a divisive issue. It can be, but to have that love override those feelings and override those emotions and speak the truth. Stephanie, we are going to just use your expertise and just, so many of our viewers that, are so passionately pro-life, but I think for many of us, we're nervous when discussing these issues, because what if we're thrown the hard questions, and what about the hard cases? So we're going to ask you how you deal with those questions. What do you answer when someone says, what about rape? For someone who is a victim of rape, shouldn't they be entitled to an abortion?
Yes, I was once asked that on an airplane next to a passenger who found out what kind of work that I did and said he believed abortion was okay in cases of rape. And so I first responded again by validating what I could validate. I said, I agree rape is evil. I agree there aren't even words to describe how vile it is. And I said, I think we need more serious consequences for the rapist, given the crime that he's committed. And then I said, a question I have to ask myself is this: is it fair to give the death penalty to the innocent child? And this passenger just looked at me and said, I never thought of it that way. And my language chosen was very intentional. I could have said, is it fair to kill the child? But I said, is it fair to give the death penalty to the innocent child? Because I had just made reference to the rapist and how we need more serious consequences. And even in some states where the death penalty exists, it's not actually given for rape. So we're talking about giving the death penalty essentially to the innocent party, a consequence we're not doing to the guilty party. And the key word is innocent. Yes, there's a debate about the death penalty. Should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed? But both sides of that debate actually have common ground on something. And the common ground they both hold is no innocent person should ever get the death penalty. So that's why the qualifier innocent in the context of the child is so important when that language is used.
And I think the stories are important too. You have on your website the story of the 12-year-old girl who saw the unborn child she conceived by rape as saving her own life. Right?
Absolutely, yes. So at my website, loveunleasheslife.com, people can go to my blog, As You Say Father, and learn the story of my friend Leanna at 12 years old. She was growing up in Mexico City. She was kidnapped, brutally raped for 2 days, and eventually found out she got pregnant from that rape. And the doctors offered her an abortion. And she knew, even at the age of 12, she said, well, will this erase all the trauma I've just been through? And when the doctor had to answer, well, technically, no, it won't erase that, then she said, well, what would be the point? And she carried through with that pregnancy, but she struggled with suicidal ideations because of the trauma of the sexual assault. And she said the only reason she didn't kill herself was she was pregnant and she didn't want to kill the child. So, I met her just 2 years ago. We became friends when we spoke in Guatemala, and she said to me, Stephanie, I saved my daughter's life, but she saved mine. And so anytime we can take a powerful story like Leanna's, and there's many others, and I've written recently more stories like that, anytime we can take those powerful stories to supplement the other questions and logic that we put forward, the more it will touch the heart of the person we encounter.
And that's how Jesus used parables to touch the hearts of others. Stephanie Gray, it has been a joy and an honor to have you join us for our coverage.
Thank you.
Stephanie Gray of Love Unleashes Life, thank you. We are going to continue our coverage of the 45th Annual March for Life, but first we'll take a quick break. Stay with us. If you are just joining us, this is EWTN's coverage of the 45th Annual March for Life. I'm Catherine Zeltner, here with my co-host for the coverage, Father Joseph Mary Wolf of the Franciscan Missionaries of the Eternal Word, and we are joined now by Brandon Buell, a pro-life father, author, and speaker. Brandon, welcome.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here.
It's great. It's an exciting day. It's a great day. And we know you, and you got involved in the pro-life movement because of your son, Jackson. Can you tell us a little bit about Jackson's story?
Absolutely. You know, I always say that you have your convictions, you have your beliefs. I grew up in a Christian home, but it wasn't until the birth of my son, the impact he had on my life as his dad, that I realized, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense as to why you value every life. Right. 17 weeks into the pregnancy, we found out through an ultrasound that the diagnosis was not good. They found his head, his brain were much smaller than should be. And throughout the entire pregnancy, no one believed he'd be viable for life, that he could make it with life. And so early on, they suggested termination. We told them again and again and again, we don't believe that. We want to give him every chance to live. We're not going to play God. They even scheduled the abortion anyway. Wow. Even when we told them, we're not doing that. We're not going there.
Oh my goodness.
We gave, we're talking about love saves lives.
Yes.
This year.
Yes.
And absolutely love saved his life, but so did our faith. Our faith was paramount. Right. And when no one else gave us hope in the medical professional for his life, and it made sense, he was against the odds, sure. We still believed in something higher, something more powerful, and that regardless of his time, the season we were blessed to have our son, we're going to give him that chance to live. And all he's done is respond with, now he's going on 3.5. They said he wouldn't make it to 1, to 2, to 3 in August till he'd be turning 4.
Incredible.
They said he wouldn't walk, wouldn't talk, wouldn't do anything. And he can smile at us. He can call me Addie. He calls his mom Mama. He says, I love you.
Wow.
And he's truly changed my life for the better.
So incredibly powerful.
Now, how has love grown in your own heart through this experience? You know, it's one thing to have the perfect child, but when you have one that has disabilities, it draws more out of you, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's made me go beyond any comfort zone that used to exist.
Wow.
Just always advocating for him. Of course, I'm biased. I'm his dad. But just seeing the spirit within him, something very unique about an individual who has special needs is maybe they can't, light the room with their voice or, walking across the room to them, but there's something special about that spirit. And I claim Jeremiah 1:5 for my son, and that there was a purpose way before I knew him, that he was created perfectly in God's image, and that he would become a prophet of the nations, as Jeremiah says. And you look at just the social media presence that his story garnered,
Right.
and we didn't share it for that reason. I'm just a proud dad. But you talk about the love and how I've grown. Seeing how much of a response, seeing how much people did see value in his life,
Right.
it just really lit me on fire that much more to keep sharing his story, and that's why I'm here today.
What do you think Jackson's purpose is?
To let us know, to always remind us that no matter what it looks like, there is always a story. There's always a value, no matter how small, no matter how weak. And he's not weak. He's one of the strongest people I've ever met. But his story and his purpose is to remind us that we never give up this fight. We don't.
Absolutely.
We continue to move forward and just remember that every life, no matter how it looks, no matter how bleak, there is hope, there's a purpose, and I hope my son's story is a reminder for everyone. Just exactly that.
And the one thing that we're going to take with us into eternity is love.
Yes.
Right? So whatever helps us to grow in love, and these sorts of situations draw love out of us to that one that has special needs.
Yes.
That's what we're going to carry to eternity.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing that endures. It has an eternal quality about it.
Absolutely.
That is beautiful. And we're getting closer and closer to the Rally for Life. So we're going to go now to Teresa Tomeo, who has Sean Carney with her.
Yes, I have Sean Carney, and I also have someone from my home archdiocese, the Archdiocese of Detroit. Woohoo! Father Stephen Paulus. And yes, Father, you have not right here, but there are 1,000 students, about 1,000 students from our archdiocese that are attending the rally, right?
That's right, Teresa. We have high school students and a number of grade schools sent kids as well. And so the first year at Detroit, we have a banner with Unleash the Gospel, our new rallying cry in Detroit. And we're meeting up and marching together to show that defending the unborn is a huge part of what it means to be a Catholic and to unleash the gospel.
Unleashthegospel.org, by the way, if you want to check out that pastoral letter from my Archbishop. And he gives so many directives in that pastoral letter. And really doing this as part of that, as you just said, putting that faith into action.
Yeah, it's about not just living our faith when we're in church, but bringing it out into our families, our neighborhoods, and the public square. And there's no more powerful witness we can offer right now than to be part of the March for Life and to say, children matter, unborn children have a value, and we need to protect their lives, even in the public arena.
Amen. Hope to see some of the students out there when we go start walking up Constitution. Good to see you, Father. And Sean, thank you so much. I know you're going to be very busy at the One Life LA and also in San Francisco. Real quick, your thoughts for today?
It's going to be a record crowd. It's awesome that President Trump is doing a live streaming video. And I think after 45 years of legalized abortion, the March for Life is bigger than it's ever been, and Planned Parenthood's brand is at an all-time low. And so there's a lot of joy here. There's a lot of young people here, and it's going to be a great day. And next week we'll be at the West Coast Walk for Life in San Francisco.
With EWTN. Back to you, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Yes, you can just see the excitement there, and there are pro-life events next week, but today that crowd is just continuing to grow. That looks like that's Plum performing. She's opening up the Rally for Life. Soon we'll have President Donald Trump addressing the crowds with a live satellite video. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, Pam Tebow, a number of pro-life congressmen. But here we are in studio. We're joined by Brandon Buell, a pro-life father, author, and speaker. He shared with us how his son, Jackson, does have a diagnosis that makes it so about 80% of his brain is missing. You're involved in the pro-life movement today. And Brandon, I have to ask, you are speaking at a lot of events aimed towards fathers and the pro-life movement. What is the role of fathers? We have our spiritual father, but for the biological father.
I think it's paramount. I know I use that word a lot, but it's because you always hear it as a women's issue. And it's actually a family issue. It's a life issue that affects all of us.
Yes.
And so when Jackson's story became so well known, it became so obvious to me that I need to be a bold voice. I need to be a young father willing to stand, be his voice, and give his life that voice that carries through and, again, inspires others, because he's already inspiring others by just being here.
Right.
So let me give his story a voice. And, you know, this week we're celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as well. And a couple of things, if I may. He said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And then additionally, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. I don't know a lot of more controversial subjects than pro-life versus pro-choice. I know where I stand on it, and I know the opposition is strong. They're fierce. They will always speak out against what we believe. But to answer your question simply, I believe the father has to stand up. We have some amazing father figures out there. Benjamin Watson, I mean, just one that's going to be there today speaking. He is an incredible person who, in the NFL, National Football League, that's not an easy platform at all to take that stand. So, you know, great for him. But we need more of that. And I knew that, again, just being a proud dad, but knowing my convictions and beliefs behind it is where that father's role in speaking came from.
And a father is there to defend and protect.
Yes.
And we need more men to be involved in the pro-life work and ministry, right? Because that's really our role as fathers, to defend, to protect life, to be the protectors of women, not predators of women, but shielding, protecting, enhancing the lives of those that we care for.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And it is, you know, that love saves lives. It's the love of the father, the love of the mother, the love of the neighbor. Love can save lives. That is the message of this year's annual 45th March for Life. And it is such an exciting day. You know, Brandon, I have to ask, though, that must have been, when you're in that vulnerable situation, you're going to be a father for the first time, you're expecting, you're joyful, then to get a diagnosis, that must have been frightening and terrifying.
To put it lightly, yes. I think the part that stood out the most for me was going back home from the many doctor's visits and going to a high-risk clinic in a hospital, coming home to the room you have prepared for your son. And you don't know if he's ever going to be able to use that. And yet, even though every negative word from the doctors would just drill into you and you feel that, and you come home to that empty room wondering, will it always be empty?
Right.
You still have to continue on through faith. And so thank goodness for a Christian family support system that I have. And again, the convictions, beliefs that have been instilled in me forever, they come to life when you really need them, don't they?
Right.
And so just leaning on that carried me through that.
Thank goodness. And Damon Owens is at the rally right now. He has a guest with him. We're going to go to him as we continue to near the Rally for Life.
Yeah, we're here with Ave Maria School of Law. It's always a joy to see Ave Maria here at the March each and every year, and we're joined by the President and Dean, Kevin Seeley, Gretchen Wade, Dwayne Wade, right? And Jay Hamilton, students at Ave Maria Law School. Kevin, tell us a little bit about your work, your focus, your vision as it relates to the Respect for Life movement.
Sure. Well, the movement is really central to the mission of the school, because what we try to do is be the outlier in law schools of being a school that is very faithful to the Catholic teachings and the Catholic Church. We're the most devout law school in the country, most conservative law school in the country. And so this is really one of our most central events that we do. We have a Lex Vitae, a pro-life organization on campus, and so we bring students every year. We actually do a march the week before in Naples, and we bring a speaker in for that event as well. What we're trying to do, our vision is to send lawyers out into the world that are going to change the world, to bring faith to the practice of law, and really be a beacon to all law schools.
Now, Gretchen, this is more than just a course, right? This is more than just ideology and ideas. It sounds like this is a formation for you as a person. Is that too much to say?
No, I think that's accurate. I think it's great that we have professors that support that mission and instill those values in us. It's more than just learning the law, but also how you're going to be a witness in the future after those 3 years. And I think that's really important. You know, I'm hoping to be an attorney, but at the same time I want to be a Catholic attorney. And bridging that gap is something that I'm able to do at Ave Maria School of Law.
That's beautiful. I think most people, when they hear Catholic this, Catholic that, they think it's this more rigid ideology. But I'm hearing a lot more of an integrated sense, of a whole sense. Could you maybe unpack a little bit, Gretchen, about what that means when you say a Catholic lawyer? What does it mean to you?
Sure. So one of our courses that we take is Moral Foundations, and that's probably unique for most attorneys in their first year. But it's ultimately that there's this natural law associated with everything that we've done as a country. You know, we came here for religious freedom, and that's something that we hold as one of our most ideal values. And so as a Catholic attorney, that's the same thing. You know, there's this natural underlying law that you remember as when you're meeting with a client or when you're in court, that there's this higher power that is also associated with that.
And Jay, what does this march mean for your own formation, your own scholarship and training as a lawyer?
Well, it's crucial because it's not only a social and cultural issue, it's a legal issue. So it's quite significant to us as young attorneys who want to make a difference in the life movement.
I got to tell you, with law students in a school like this, we're going to have to lose all the lawyer jokes. So we're going to have to find something better to talk about. People so well-formed that your presence helps to bring it. Praise God, indeed. Ave Maria Law School here in the March for Life. You can see the crowd and the heat building up. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful day.
It does look like a beautiful day outside. I'm jealous. I thought it'd be staying warm in studio, but we're missing the sunshine.
We are.
And we are joined by Brandon Buell, pro-life father, author, and speaker. He's with us now as we continue to count down towards the Rally for Life. Brandon, we were just speaking about how your son, with his diagnosis, he looks different than other young children, right? And he has a different life than other young children. Right. But his life still has that same inherent value and dignity.
Absolutely. I think the moment we start putting a value on anyone, the way they look, the way they were brought up, the way if they have a disability or non-ability, that's when we begin to take a role that we're not supposed to take. Absolutely. We're supposed to love one another. It's the greatest commandment that Jesus gave to us. And when you start putting that value on someone, you're missing the point. And what I've always asked is, how many Jacksons since 1973, since Roe v. Wade, how many Jacksons have we missed out on loving, on learning from feeling that impact? How many Jacksons have not had the opportunity to impact this world? The way that my son's life, I'll never know ultimately how many lives he's touched, much more than I'll ever be able to do. And someone would look at me and say, well, he has more value because he can have more earthly abilities. So it proves right there that that's not the case.
I like something that Stephanie Gray, our previous guest, said about, she had talked to someone about, well, when you have a deformity in the womb, then to have an abortion. Her mother had done that. And he said, she said, wouldn't you want to cherish every moment that you have with this person? Just like if a loved one had cancer, wouldn't you cherish every moment that you had with them? And that's exactly what you decided to do.
Yes.
To cherish every moment you had, however long Jackson's life was.
Absolutely.
Or else we start discriminating against people's capabilities and abilities, and that's terrifying and frightening. And that speaks of a whole other issue with assisted suicide. You see assisted suicide advocates trying to just make death more accessible for people who might have encountered disabilities or a terminal illness in their life, but no, their life still has value. There is a reason that God breathed life into Jackson's soul and for each one of us.
And often that's the very time His grace is especially working. I've seen that again and again, at the end of people's lives, that God is really moving with His grace. And not only that person, but the people around them. That's what you've experienced, I'm sure, in your own son's life.
Absolutely.
So beautiful. And Teresa Tomeo, we're going to go to her now at the rally as we count down towards the Rally for Life.
So, sorry, I'm waving at, we see some more EWTN employees here, so I was just waving to them. Hi, Catherine. This is really exciting. We're getting very close to the rally, as you just mentioned, and because of the importance of media, I thought I would bring two very fine media gentlemen together. We have to my left, John Henry Weston from LifeSite News, and to my right, Scott Warden, who's an editor at Our Sunday Visitor, which is another great publication, of course, produces many great articles on pro-life and teaches us about Catholic Church teaching on the life issues, but he's also wearing two hats today because he's a dad. He's with his daughter, Olivia. It's her first time here at the March. So, Scott, as a dad coming here with people from your parish and your diocese, what's that like for you?
It was really just, I was excited for my first time just because as media people, we report on it so much, but I never really got to see it with my own eyes. So to come here and see the thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, it really just sort of sinks in how important it is to cover the story and get the message out to the people who can't be here.
All right. And John Henry Weston, you do such a great job of covering pro-life issues. Your thoughts at this year's march? What's on your heart?
Well, on our heart, obviously with President Trump speaking here today, it's a great blessing for all of America. It's actually a great blessing for Canada, too, where I hail from. And I have to tell you, our Prime Minister is doing some really strange stuff. Basically taking away benefits from anybody who's pro-life or pro-family, and you actually have to sign on to say that you're in support of abortion rights and anti-family rights. So unbelievable, but a great encouragement that President Trump is speaking here, and I think he's doing like a presidency also for Canadians who love life.
All right, well, we're praying for you. I'm real close to the border for you in Michigan,
Thank
so we know that you guys do a great job. Back to you in the studio, and I think we have one more interview we're going to be doing, some young people. We're going to wrap it up with some young people out here in the field. Back to you.
That sounds excellent. Thanks so much, Teresa. And here we are with Brandon Buell. Brandon, you are joining us as a pro-life father, author, and speaker. We spoke earlier just about how you faced a scary time when you were expecting your first child, who is he'll be 4, he's 3.5, and his scary diagnosis that he was given in the womb. But you chose life. For other young couples who are given a scary diagnosis as they're expecting their child, what words might you want to offer them?
It's remembering that every single person, we all started in the womb, and we always have a value, we always have a purpose, and you have to hang on to that hope, you have to hang on to that faith. Find the people in your life that you truly trust, that you know are a support system for you no matter what you're facing, because let's be honest, it's a scary place to be. There's so much unknown, but none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. And no matter how long I'm blessed to be able to hold and care for, cherish my son, he has a purpose. And it's holding on to that hope and that faith and that purpose that each and every one of us has to look there for that hope.
That love always has an eternal quality about it. And sometimes doctors are wrong. They don't always get the diagnosis right. A lot of the times the issues come up on our coverage. So we just trust in God.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
That's excellent. So, thank you so much for those reflections, Father, because sometimes in the medical community it's overwhelming. We just trust our doctors, I think, a lot of times. But, to stay strong during that time. And we are now, as we're just minutes away from the Rally for Life, I'm going to go now to Damon Owens, who is out on the field with some guests. Hello, Damon.
Here you go. Hello there. I'm with international attorney Gualberto Garcia Jones to talk a little bit about the human rights issue internationally, but also maybe help our American viewers, with our worldwide viewers, to see the impact of the United States on this issue around the world. Welcome, Gualberto.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Tell us a little bit about the international human rights group that you work with, your mission, and what you see as urgent for the American influence on the issues of life around the world.
Sure. Well, the International Human Rights Group focuses right now on Latin America. We try to protect the traditional values of life, family, religious liberty, and right now we're really at a crossroads in Latin America. there is a lot of money, a lot of influence, a lot of it flowing from the United States and from Europe to try to change the culture and the traditions of Latin America. So we're at a crucial time, and what we do is we try to support organizations in Latin America. We try to organize them. We look at the treaty law that's going through international bodies and inform people of the importance of paying attention to them, not letting them sneak in anti-family, anti-life clauses, and so that's the work we do.
So you look mostly at the United Nations, or maybe something with the OAS, maybe just a little of the organizations that you work through?
Yeah, so we strategically decided to focus on the OAS, the Organization of American States, which is based here in Washington, D.C., actually. And the reason is because Latin America is really a reservoir of our values. We view it as a potential bastion for us. And so we want to develop it. We want it to actually start influencing the United States and Europe. Just like in the past, Europe brought Christianity to Latin America. I think we're at a time where Latin America can do a favor back to the West and bring back some of those traditions and the culture.
Yeah, I see that as a beautiful in action of what the John Paul II was asking of this united America from the North and the South. We tend to separate them up. So thank you so much for your work and your beautiful family that's here to march with you. Is where Gualberto Garcia Jones International Human Rights Group. It is a worldwide movement, and we're all gathered today to celebrate together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Damon.
Thank you, Damon. Yes, the countdown. We're getting closer and closer, about 5 minutes away from the Rally for Life before it begins. Brandon, I want to ask you, you traveled, I think, from Florida to be here and surrounded by pro-lifers. What does the March for Life mean to you?
Well, let me sum it up in someone else's words. In 1994, here in Washington, D.C. at the National Prayer Breakfast, Mother Teresa said she felt the greatest destroyer of peace is abortion. It was so true then, it's so true today, and every single year that hundreds of thousands of people come to that same city where she spoke those words and just are out there in droves to say that we will not keep standing for this. We believe in the sanctity of every single human life. And when I'm out there in those crowds, I'm seeing so many young Americans, so many young people from everywhere around the world coming here just to say we agree with those words. We will stand against what we know is not true and our true convictions and beliefs. So seeing that in person, those many people, it is so encouraging. And I know they'll be back here again and again and again until we one day can finally overturn one of the greatest travesties we've seen in our history.
Wow. Yeah. Mother Teresa, now Saint Teresa of Calcutta, was just one of two saints who have addressed the United States about abortion.
That's right, when they were here on these grounds. And so she addressed the National Prayer Breakfast in 1994, and she said those words, and she said, if we teach women to solve their problems by violence, then that opens it for everybody, right? And then also Pope John Paul II, now St. John Paul II, he also addressed America during his 1987 or 79 visit, I believe, right before he departed. And he said, America, to remember the dignity of human life, that's what we should stand for.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's to me just telling that these saints, they were able to notice this sin in the United States, this stain in human history, really, that is abortion. But like you said, Brandon, coming here and seeing all the young faces and being encouraged by our fellow pro-lifers that we are going to keep marching forward, literally today, but then every day to continue to advance the pro-life cause.
Really, it is the love saves lives. And that's what the whole spirituality is, our following the gospel is to save lives through love.
Absolutely. And Teresa, Tommy, as we're getting closer to the rally, you have some guests with you.
Thanks, Father. Yes, I do. It's very exciting for me, Catherine, because we're wrapping it up with wonderful young people in a great parish. Proud to say my own parish, St. Isaac Jogues in the Archdiocese of Detroit. Our pastor, Father Daryl Roman, our beautiful principal of our school, run by the adorable and beautiful and wonderful Sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist, the Dominican sisters. And then to my right, we have some young people, a beautiful lady here from Massachusetts, from the East Coast and Midwest. First, I'll go to you, Jackie, quickly about your group.
So we're from Montrose School in Medfield, Massachusetts. We're an independent school for girls grades 6 through 12 with a Catholic ethos. And we try to come to the March every year, March for Life every year, weather permitting. So we're just so happy to be here on this glorious day. We don't always make it because of snow or cold or rain, but we're just so excited to be here. It's great to be part of this tremendous movement with so many young people. It's such a energizing day, and we just take that energy back home with us and put put it to work and work for life in our community and in our school.
Good to see you again, Jackie. And also, Father, let me go to you real quickly, and then Sister. I know that you talk about pro-life from the pulpit all the time and almost every week. What does it mean to you to be here?
It means a wonderful thing. It's just following in the footsteps of John Paul II, where life is the most precious gift that God has given us. God is breathing his life into each and every human being in the mother's womb, and that's a beautiful gift. And how can we destroy that gift by taking that life away? So we got to march for life, for God in each and every individual who's.
And I think St. John Paul II gave us this great weather. And Sister, we're going to close with you, the importance of educating children, which the Dominicans do so well, but bringing them here, how important is that for the march and for helping them learn?
I think this is one of the most powerful experiences that our students can experience during their time with us at St. Isaac Jogues and St. Clair Shores. We've brought our 8th graders every year for the past 4 years, and it literally changes their lives because they get to experience not only standing up for a cause that is near and dear to every Catholic's heart, but they also get to experience the universal church for the first time as we take them to the Basilica and they go to the youth rally masses. I think those have been some of the most powerful experiences for them in this trip.
Great. Thank you so much. I want to say a quick shout out to some of the EWTN crew over here, Tom Price and his wife Adrienne. If we can scan the camera over there, our crew that worked so hard behind the scenes, but now is up here at the march. So we're going to throw it back to you in the studio, and we'll see you along Constitution Avenue after the rally.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Teresa. Yes, this is a big, major production for the network. We take this very seriously, the March for Life.
We have a number of friars in the background there, too. Brother Leo, Brother John, they're helping to shuttle those guests in and out. So.
They're production assistants.
That's
They're helping us in every way, spiritually, practically, every way. So thank you to our friars.
Yeah.
But yes, we're going to continue on our coverage. Soon the Rally for Life is about to begin, whereas we've been speaking about President Donald Trump will address the crowds for the very first time via live satellite video. He'll be speaking from the Rose Garden at the White House. I believe he'll be surrounded by some pro-lifers, but we'll just have to wait and see if that is the case. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan will be there. Pam Tebow, mother of Tim Tebow, another Christian family who, Brandon, similarly to like your story, she was pressured to abort her child, said no. We have Tim Tebow, just as you have your son Jackson, because you said yes to life.
Absolutely. The impact one family can make, you never know. One child can make. I mean, we know Tim Tebow's name in so many different facets, but you know where he stands. You know where his mother stands. And so today, her being here, willing to speak on those subjects, and again, with the platforms that some of these people have, they're still willing to be bold and to do that. Our family is just one family, but you never know the impact and the value they can make.
Exactly. We touch everyone's life.
We can think of people like Justin Bieber, Andrea Bocelli, who, though he's blind, certainly has enriched the world through his gifts. So again, he has a limitation, and yet how other gifts came forth because of that limitation.
I'm going to point something out to our viewers right now. At the start of our broadcast at 9 a.m., we started an abortion counter on our screen. You should be able to see it right now. And this uses the latest statistics to calculate how many global abortions there have been since the start of our broadcast at 9 a.m. So let's take a look. We're at over 13,969 at this point. That's stark. That's grim, and it just puts it into reality. Lives are literally at stake, and this is why it's a huge issue for us.
Yes, and you think about those numbers, it's really can't grasp it, the totality of it. By the time we get to the end of our broadcast, it's going to be a huge number.
Right.
And you think about that going on every day, day after day, day after day. So what we're doing and what you're doing is so necessary, because you're pointing out every life has dignity. And there's a way in which you bring that point across more than anybody else because of the disabilities of your son.
And very exciting, going now to the Rally for Life on the National Mall.
And welcome to all of you. I want to say a very special thank you to Plum and her team for the incredible music. My gosh, I literally cannot see the end of you all out there. I can't see the end of you. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Jeannie Mancini, and I'm honored to be the president of the March for Life. And on behalf... Boy, you're an easy crowd. On behalf of the board and the whole March for Life team, I would like to welcome you to the 45th annual March for Life, the largest, that's right. You are part of the largest annual human rights demonstration in the world. We're going to begin just as we should. I'm going to welcome to the stage Joseph Basala to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Joseph is from the Knights of Columbus at Catholic University of America. Joseph.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Now I'm absolutely delighted to introduce you to McKenna Donahue. McKenna is a 9th grade student who's traveled from Falmouth High School in Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, and she's going to lead us in the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Great job, McKenna. She did such a good job. Each year, we are grateful for the collaborative witness of the Roman Catholic Orthodox bishops and the Roman Catholic bishops of the United States. In continuing this proud tradition, I am now happy to welcome to the podium Metropolitan Tikhon, leading a delegation of hierarchs representing the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops of the United States. Metropolitan Tikhon is joined on stage by many other Orthodox and Roman Catholic bishops in offering our opening prayer. Your Beatitude.
I don't come here to represent an ideology or to put forth a new thought. I am not here to disclose a new insight or to speak for others. I don't even come here to speak for myself. I come here to speak out the gospel, to speak for the one who died for the life of the world. In this phrase, I see the summary of all our communion here today. And so, together with my brothers from the Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, and Roman Catholic traditions, I ask you to join me in offering a prayer to the one who died not for the lives of the world, but for the life of it. O Lord Jesus Christ, we know that all things and all people of all times share a kinship, a oneness that even surpasses our understanding. They all have one life and one life only, flowing through everything that breathes and everything that exists. When you came into the world, you didn't just become human. You also took on this one life and clothed yourself in it, making it your seamless tunic. As life is one, all violence of any kind is of the same essence, the tearing of the one tunic. The tearing of the tunic will take place in many forms: abortion, execution, war, racism, genocide, oppression, slavery, and hatred of any kind. But the essence of all is one and the same: the symptoms of the one and same illness, the sin of the world, of which we are all part, which is self-love. To be pro-life means to understand that violence is not the sin of some, but of all, that all violence of all time is the sin of all. The truth is that every human being is in your image, and everyone's life finds infinite value in you, regardless of our sins. Lord, you show us that life has only one source and only one victory: self-sacrificial love. Help us to be self-sacrificial love for all, and we will conquer death. As the great Syrian saint, St. Isaac, said, "Be persecuted, but persecute not. Be crucified, but crucify not. Be wronged, but wrong not. Be slandered, but slander not. Have clemency, not zeal, with respect to evil. Lay hold of goodness, not justice. Justice does not belong to the Christian way of life, and there is no mention of it in Christ's teaching. Rejoice with them that rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Rebuke no man, revile no man, not even those who live very wickedly. Spread your cloak over the man who is falling and cover him." My brothers and sisters, let us be pro-life and thus not oppose Christ's dying for the life of the whole world. Let us be pro-life and be against anything that injures life, against any violence under any circumstances. Let us be pro-life and thus become unable to endure the injury done to any creature. May we be all this to the glory of our Almighty God, revealed in Trinity at the River Jordan, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Beatitude. 45 years ago, on January 22nd, 1973, 7 men on the United States Supreme Court handed down a decision that would forever change history with Roe versus Wade and the expansion of abortion to all 50 states. The following year, the next January 22nd, some were afraid that on that following year that it would come and go without public acknowledgement. And a courageous woman named Nellie Gray and a group of others who were appalled by the human rights abuse of abortion organized a march in Washington, D.C., uniting, equipping, educating, and mobilizing thousands of pro-life citizens to activate their voice in the public square. Over these past 45 years, abortion has claimed the lives of over 60 million Americans, and we grieve their loss. But over these 45 years, the March for Life has persevered, growing to become the largest annual human rights demonstration in the world. Throughout these 45 years, the March for Life has worked to unite, equip, and mobilize millions of pro-life citizens in the public square. Their love, your love, is saving lives. And our theme for the March for Life this year is Love saves lives. But, and this is a really important but, we are not planning to march for 45 more years. If you believe that abortion is the human rights abuse and that it's been going on 45 years too long, I want to hear you say yes. Today, will you march for those who cannot speak for themselves? Do you agree that abortion harms women and harms society? Will you march so that abortion becomes unthinkable? Will you march so that the human rights of abortion will end soon? Will you march today so that tomorrow we don't have to march? Your witness here today is incredibly important, as it has been for the last 45 years. Share your stories on all of the social media outlets and use the hashtag #WhyWeMarch. And the reason that we use that hashtag is that we can hear each of your individual stories about why you're pro-life. It's also incredibly important that our excitement, our enthusiasm, our passion does not end when we go home today. We must keep marching for life each day, every single day around the year, taking action in your local communities and in the public square to work towards ending abortion. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Do you have your phone with you? I want every single one of you to take it out right now. Pull it out. Even if you're watching at home, pull your phone out right now. This is critically important. Pull your phone out. You've got it? Do you have it? I can't hear you. Okay. Now, I want you to text MARCH, M-A-R-C-H, to the number 73075. It's that simple. Go ahead and do it right now. It's right up on the Jumbotron. Text MARCH. Everyone watching on TV, 73075. And then you're going to answer 3 simple questions. I did this yesterday. It's as simple as can be. And then you're going to watch. We're going to put a map up there, and we're going to see people from all over the country who are committing to ending abortion. And let me tell you how we're going to do that. By signing up right now, you're committing to work to end abortion. And the very first thing we're going to do right after you get home, so you can plan on hearing from us on Monday, is we're going to join all of our voices to send an enormous pro-life call to this administration and Congress to end taxpayer funding of our nation's largest abortion provider, Planned Parenthood. And we're going to be in touch every month with another way we want you to activate your voice in the public square. So do you agree that that's important? I want you to send that text with MARCH to 73075, and we'll make that happen as our first step. And every month in 2018, we're going to unite, educate, and mobilize all of us to make the greatest action towards the greatest impact of the human rights abuse of today. We need each and every one of you to be part of this movement. And as you know, this year's theme is Love Saves Lives. Love saves lives. Love and sacrifice go hand in hand. Love and sacrifice bear fruit. Let's be clear, folks. Choosing life, especially when a woman is facing an unexpected pregnancy, is not easy. No one said it was. But it is the right choice. It is the empowering choice. It is the loving choice. And it is the self-sacrificial option. Amen. For the remainder of our program, you're going to hear a variety of amazing stories of how different people have lived out our theme, Love Saves Lives. I really, from the depth of my heart, want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this movement to end the most significant human rights abuse of today. Thank you. Okay. Now, let's get that map up there to see how many people have texted in. And I want you to raise your hand if you texted in to join the movement. Okay, can we get the map up there, folks? Can we get the map up there? Let me ask, how many people have texted in? Great. Keep remembering to use the hashtag #WhyWeMarch and to tell your special pro-life stories about why we march. Excellent. I'm very excited to introduce you to a beautiful woman who embodies our theme in a way that is hard to even put into words. Sister Bethany Madonna is a member of a very beautiful religious order called the Sisters of Life, and their mission is very much related to building a culture of life. I'm going to let Sister Bethany Madonna tell you just a little bit about what they do. Please welcome to the stage Sister Bethany Madonna.
Wow. We pray for you every day, but it's such a joy to be able to see your faces. As Sisters of Life, we have the privilege of serving courageous women, pregnant, tempted, afraid. And we see Jesus' perfect love cast out fear and make all things new. Raquel came to live with us in our convent, and she said, "Sisters, I'm not having an abortion, but I would never tell another woman what to do." We watched as God provided for her every need. And as she embraced her own maternity, her heart began to change. Raquel told us this story. She said, "I was in the hospital elevator on the way to a doctor's appointment, and another woman got on. I said, 'Hello.' And she burst into tears and said, 'I'm pregnant.' Raquel said, 'Congratulations. I'm pregnant too.' She explained that she just couldn't do it right now. It wasn't the right time. Raquel felt her baby moving and took this woman's hand and put it directly on her belly. And at that moment, the baby kicked. She goes, 'Wow.' And Raquel said, 'Yeah, my baby's gonna be a linebacker. He's going to be strong, and he's going to be blessed.' And she asked, 'Why is he going to be blessed?' And Raquel said, 'Because he's here. Whether you cry or you laugh, if you're here, you're blessed. You're put here for a reason.' She told her, 'I'm having an abortion.' And Raquel said, 'No, you're not. You're having a girl. You have your girl, dress her up in pink, and put ponytails in her hair. And call her Raquel. And by the way, my middle name is Jasmine. And if she ever asks you how she got her name, you tell her you met a fabulous lady in the elevator one day who told you you were going to have a beautiful baby girl.' And they laughed, got off together, and Raquel walked her down to her OBGYN to make an appointment. She laughed and she said, 'See, I can be pushy.' We asked, 'Did you keep in touch with her?' She said, 'I didn't see her until 2 years later at the same hospital. She was pushing a stroller and ran up to me and hugged me. She had twins, 2 girls. And their names, Raquel and Jasmine.' She said, 'I love you, Raquel. You don't understand. I love you. I will never forget your name, your face, your smile. I would do anything for you. I love you.' And Raquel said, 'I love you too. I understand. I've experienced it.' It was such a small thing, this loving exchange, and the impact reaches into eternity. You may not see the impact of your love, but God sees it. The love of your heart is totally unique to you and only you can give it. Your love saves lives. God bless you.
I didn't get to do a proper introduction of Sister Bethany Madonna. Can I just ask you one question? Can you tell me a little bit about the founding of Sisters of Life?
I'd love to.
Okay, talk to us a little bit about that and your work.
Sure. In 1991, we were founded by John Cardinal O'Connor, who was the Cardinal Archbishop of New York and 70 years old at the time, had a lot on his plate. But God inspired him to raise up a religious community who would pray and fast to cast out this demon of irreverence for life. So we take a fourth vow to protect and enhance the sacredness of human life. So we serve women who are pregnant and vulnerable and tempted to abortion. We have some of them come live in our convents. We host retreats every weekend for men and women like yourselves so you can come in out of the rain and be restored in Jesus' love and tenderness and your fidelity. We walk with college students in spiritual accompaniment who are on campuses that tell them that they are not sacred, that their bodies are not worth anything, that they have to give away to the ways of this world when Jesus has such a beautiful plan for them, one that reaches to heaven. We walk with men and women who are suffering after abortion, who feel alone, who feel ashamed, who feel like they are unlovable, and we watch as Jesus raises them from the dead, as he restores them to life in his mercy. It's such a privilege to be able to see how he is the one who so desires our hearts and longs for them. I love to think about fingerprints. They're my favorite because no two people in the world have the same fingerprints out of the millions and billions who have ever existed. And I love to think if God is going to take so much time to arrange and design the invisible circle patterns on the end of your fingers to be totally unique to you, how much more the love in your heart. It is yours. He is calling you. He trusts you. He has a beautiful plan. He needs you. Say yes, and you will be happy and joyful. Amen.